I was having dinner with my family. My son-in-law looked at me and said in a loud voice, "Is this useless old woman going to eat everything again?" The entire table laughed. I stood up slowly, wiped my mouth, and said, "Excuse me." The next morning, the bank called him. But let me tell you how I got to that moment. Because that night, while everyone was laughing, something inside me stopped breaking, and it started to harden. My name is Margaret Sullivan. I am 70 years old. I have 3 children, 7 grandchildren, and a story I never thought I would have to tell. For decades, I was the woman who gave everything without asking for anything in return. The one who cooked for 20 people every Sunday. The one who watched sick grandchildren while their parents worked. The one who lent money without signed receipts because family does not need paperwork. That Thursday dinner was in the house where I lived with my husband, Arthur, for 42 years. The same house where I raised my children, where I hung the photos of every birthday, every graduation, every baptism. The terracotta walls I painted myself back when I still had the strength to climb a ladder. The solid oak dining set we bought with Arthur's first paycheck as a civil engineer. But that night, sitting at my own table, I felt like an intruder. Jessica, my youngest daughter, had prepared a pot roast. Tyler, her husband, was sitting at the head of the table, my place. The place where Arthur sat every night for 4 decades. Now it was his. I occupied a chair in the corner, near the kitchen, as if I were the help waiting for orders. The grandchildren, Connor, who is 12, and Lily, who is 9, were glued to their smartphones. They did not even look up when I served the mashed potatoes. Jessica looked tired, with deep circles under her eyes and her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Tyler was wearing a new shirt, a designer brand, the kind that costs what I used to spend on groceries for the entire week. I started to serve myself a second helping of the roast, just a little bit more. I had cooked for years, but now I rarely ate comfortably in my own home. I always felt like I was in the way, taking up space, using resources that did not belong to me. That was when Tyler let those words out. "Is this useless old woman going to eat everything again?" The fork froze in my hand. I looked around the table. Connor smirked, looking at his cell phone. Lily stifled a giggle. Jessica, my Jessica. She looked down at her plate and said nothing. Nothing. Tyler laughed harder, as if he had just told the best joke in the world. "I am just kidding. Mother-in-law, don't get mad. But really, you just keep eating and eating, and then you complain that your stomach hurts." My throat burned. Not from the food, from the words I wanted to scream but could not let out. I wiped my mouth with the cloth napkin, the one I embroidered 30 years ago with my family's initials. I placed the fork on the plate carefully, making as little noise as possible. I stood up. "Excuse me." No one replied. No one asked if I was okay. As I climbed the stairs toward my bedroom, the smallest one in the house, the one that used to be the sewing room, I heard them laughing again. Someone turned on the television. I closed the door. I sat on the bed that squeaked every time I moved. And there, in the dark, with the taste of the roast still in my mouth, I made the most important decision of my life. No more. I took out my phone, an old model that Connor had called prehistoric last month. I searched for a number I had not dialed since Arthur's funeral. Mr. Robert Harrison. My attorney, the same man who drafted my husband's will, the one who knew every detail of what I owned. I dialed. 3 rings. 4. "Margaret? What happened?" "Robert, I need to see you tomorrow, first thing in the morning, and bring all the documents." "All of them?" There was a silence on the other end. Then, with a serious voice, "Are you sure?" I looked at the closed door. Downstairs, I could hear an action movie. Explosions, shouts, laughter, more sure than ever. I hung up. I took a deep breath. And for the first time in 5 years, since Arthur died and I let Jessica and Tyler help me with everything, I felt something resembling clarity. I did not know exactly what I was going to do, but I knew that humiliation would be the last one. Because what Tyler did not know, what none of them knew, is that the useless old woman had built a fortune they could barely imagine. And tomorrow I would start protecting it. If this story is touching your heart, subscribe to the channel so you can continue accompanying me in this tale. Because what comes next, not even I saw coming. That night I could not sleep. I lay there looking at the cracked ceiling of my room, listening to the sounds of a house that no longer felt mine. The television turning off past midnight. Tyler's footsteps going up the stairs. The door of the master bedroom closing. The one that was my bedroom for 42 years. I got up before sunrise. 5 in the morning. Outside it was still dark, but I could no longer stay still. I opened the nightstand drawer and took out a rusty metal box, the same one I had kept since I got married. Inside were documents I had not reviewed since Arthur's funeral. I needed to remember who I was before I became the shadow living in the corner of her own house. My full name is Margaret Sullivan. I was born in Chicago in 1955. I studied accounting when women of my generation were expected to just find a husband. I graduated with honors. I worked at a top auditing firm for 15 years before my first child was born. When I married Arthur, he was a civil engineer who had just graduated and barely earned enough to pay rent on a 2-bedroom apartment. I kept working. My income paid the down payment on this house, the first furniture, the first station wagon we had. But no one remembers that. To my children, Dad was always the provider. I was just Mom, the one who made breakfast and checked homework. What they never knew is that when Arthur started his construction company, I was his partner. Not in name, because in those days women were not taken seriously in that business. But I managed the books. I negotiated with suppliers. I found the tax loopholes that saved us thousands of dollars every year. Every dollar Arthur earned, I multiplied with smart investments. I bought a commercial building downtown when no one wanted to invest there. Today it is worth 3 times what I paid. I bought stocks in companies that were just starting out. Some went under. Others grew so much they gave me returns of 300%. When Arthur died 5 years ago from a sudden heart attack, I crumbled. I lost my life partner, my confidant, the only one who knew how much my work was worth, even if no one else saw it. And in that moment of weakness, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I gave them access to everything. Jessica came to the funeral with Tyler. She hugged me crying and said, "Mom, don't worry about anything. We will take care of everything." And I, devastated, believed her. I signed a limited power of attorney so she could help me with bank transfers, with the deeds, with utility payments. "Just so you don't have to run around so much, Mom. You are too old for these hassles." Tyler suggested they move in with me, "So you won't be alone in this big house." I accepted. I thought it would be temporary. 3 months, maybe 6. It has been 5 years. Little by little, I stopped making decisions. Tyler had an opinion on everything. "Mother-in-law, better not renew that certificate of deposit. The bank has very low rates. Don't worry about the property tax. I will pay it with your card. Why do you want to go out? I will bring you whatever you need." I convinced myself they were taking care of me, that I was a burden and should be grateful they put up with me. But that morning, with the documents spread out on my bed, I saw the truth with brutal clarity. The house, in my name. Original deeds kept in a safety deposit box only I could open. 2 commercial units in a strip mall downtown, in my name, rented to a coffee shop and a boutique. Monthly income of $3,500 that was deposited into an account Jessica managed for me. An investment account at Chase Bank, $400,000. It generated interest I had never seen again, and the detail that took my breath away. 2 years ago, Tyler asked me to co-sign a business loan. "It is just a formality, mother-in-law. I need a co-signer to open my auto repair shop. I won't use a single dollar of your money. I swear." I co-signed it. $80,000. The shop went under in 8 months. Tyler told me he had bad luck with a partner, that he would pay me back every dollar, that he just needed time. I never saw a single dollar back, and the bank never chased me because, why? Tyler had kept paying the minimum monthly payments, with my money, my rental income, the money Jessica was supposedly managing. I felt the walls closing in on me. For 5 years I had been blind, trusting, believing that my family was protecting me, when in reality they were draining me dry little by little. Tyler's new car, Jessica's latest iPhone, the grandkids' expensive private tutoring, the kitchen remodel we supposedly needed urgently, all paid for with my resources while I wore clothes from 10 years ago and bought the cheapest soap at the supermarket. I put the documents in my purse, A frayed tote bag that Connor had called a homeless bag last week. I went downstairs. In the kitchen, Tyler was eating eggs with sausage while watching the news on his tablet. Jessica was ironing her nurse's scrubs. The kids were still sleeping. "Good morning," I said with the most neutral voice I could muster. Tyler did not even look up. "There is coffee on the stove." I poured myself a cup. The coffee was cold. No one had left any fresh coffee for me. "I am going out for a while," I announced. "I have some errands to run." "Errands?" Jessica frowned. "What errands, Mom? If you want, I can drive you." "It is not necessary, honey. I am just going to see Mr. Harrison." Tyler finally looked up. His eyes narrowed. "The lawyer? What for?" I smiled. A small, calm smile. Old people things. Boring paperwork. I took my purse and left before they could ask more questions. Outside, the sun was just starting to warm the pavement. I walked 3 blocks to the main avenue and hailed a cab. "To the Harrison and Associates offices, please." As the taxi moved through the morning traffic, I took out my phone and looked again at the bank statements I had printed in silence the night before, when everyone was sleeping. The numbers did not lie. In 5 years, I had loaned my family more than $100,000 between the co-signed loan, renovation payments, and daily expenses Tyler charged to our joint account. And never, not once, had they asked me what I needed. The taxi stopped in front of a glass building. I paid and went up to the 4th floor. The receptionist recognized me immediately. "Mrs. Sullivan, Mr. Harrison is waiting for you." I entered the office. Mr. Harrison was 73 years old, with completely white hair and a look that had seen 1,000 families destroy themselves over money. "Margaret," he said, standing up to hug me. "Tell me everything." And there, sitting in front of the mahogany desk, with the loan contract spread out in front of me, I told him every humiliation, every slight, every poisoned comment disguised as a joke. When I finished, Mr. Harrison clasped his hands on the desk. "What do you want to do?" I took a deep breath. "I want my life back, and I want them to learn that dignity is not negotiable, not even with family." Mr. Harrison nodded slowly. Then he opened a folder and started taking out documents. "Then let's start here." Mr. Harrison spread the documents on his desk like a surgeon preparing his instruments. Every paper represented a decision. Every signature I placed would be a step towards something that terrified me and liberated me at the same time. "Margaret, before making any move, I need you to understand something," he said with a firm voice. "Once you start, there is no turning back. Your family is going to react, probably badly. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about the laughter last night, about Jessica lowering her eyes, about Tyler sitting in Arthur's seat as if it had always belonged to him. I am prepared. We spent 3 hours reviewing every detail. Mr. Harrison explained options I did not know I had, rights I had forgotten I possessed. First, the co-signed loan. Since Tyler had never officially informed me about the real state of his debt, and since the loan was coming up for renewal, a fact Mr. Harrison discovered in the fine print, I could refuse to sign the renewal. The bank would then demand full payment or a new guarantor immediately. "They are going to call him within 48 hours, Mr. Harrison warned. "When they see he no longer has backing for the renewal, they are going to demand guarantees or immediate payment." Perfect. Second, the power of attorney I gave Jessica. It was limited. She could make transactions, yes, but not sell properties or take out loans in my name. However, that power could be revoked at any moment. If you revoke the power of attorney, she will no longer be able to touch your accounts, or the rent money, or the investments. My hand trembled over the document, revoking the power from my own daughter, telling her I did not trust her. But did I really trust her, or was I just afraid of being alone? "What about the house?" I asked. "They live there with me." Mr. Harrison leaned back in his chair. "The house is yours. They are your guests. You can ask them to leave at any moment. Legally, you have every right. Guests. In my own home, my daughter and son-in-law were just guests." "Give me time to think about that," I said. "I don't want to leave Jessica on the street. She is still my daughter." "Of course. But Margaret, you don't deserve to live as a prisoner in your own home either." I signed the first documents. Refusal to renew the guarantee. Revocation of the power of attorney. Mr. Harrison would notarize them and deliver them to the bank and the county clerk's office that same afternoon. "One more thing," I said before leaving. "I need to change my will." Mr. Harrison raised an eyebrow. "What do you have in mind?" "I want to create a trust fund for my grandchildren, something that neither Jessica nor Tyler can touch. That can only be used for education, college, books, courses, but not a single dollar for them." "Smart. How much?" I ran the numbers in my head. $500,000 from my investment account. Mr. Harrison whistled softly. "That is going to hurt when they find out." "Let it hurt. My grandchildren deserve a future. Their parents deserve a lesson." I left the office past 2 in the afternoon. I had not eaten anything, but I was not hungry. I had something better, a plan. I walked through the city without a fixed destination. I needed to think, to process, to decide how much I was willing to fight. I stopped in front of a small church, St. Michael's Parish. I entered. The smell of incense and candle wax enveloped me like a hug from my childhood. I sat in a pew at the back and looked at the altar. "Arthur," I whispered, "I wish you were here. You always knew what to do." But Arthur was not there, and I had spent 5 years waiting for someone else to solve my life. I closed my eyes. I remembered fragments of the last few years, not just the humiliation of last night. There were signs from long before, my 68th birthday, that no one remembered. Tyler organized a barbecue that day to watch the football game with his friends. He did not even ask me if I wanted to invite anyone. Last Christmas, when I bought gifts for everyone with my money, and they gave me an extra-large sweater. "So you are comfortable, mother-in-law." It was horrible, mustard yellow with an embroidered reindeer. I wore it once so as not to be rude, and then shoved it to the back of the drawer. The times I went down to the living room and Tyler changed the channel without asking what I was watching. "You have watched enough, mother-in-law. Now it is time for my show." The meals where I served everyone first, and when it was my turn to eat, the food was already cold. No one ever waited for me. The comments. God, the comments. "You are too old for that. Better stay home. Don't want you to get tired. Let me do it. You don't understand how this works anymore. Oh, mother-in-law, you and your ideas from the 50s, little stabs disguised as concern." And I accepted them all, one by one, because I was afraid. Afraid of being a bother. Afraid they would leave me alone. Afraid of being the bitter mother no one wants to visit. But last night, when the whole table laughed at me, something changed. I understood that I was already alone, that living surrounded by people who despise you is worse than living in dignified solitude. I opened my eyes. An elderly woman was lighting a votive candle in front of the Virgin Mary. She was my age, maybe older, but she moved with purpose, with calm, like someone who knew exactly who she was. I wanted to be like her. I stood up, put $20 in the donation box, and left the church with crystal clear clarity. I took a taxi back home. It was almost 5 in the afternoon. When I entered, the house was silent. Jessica had not arrived from her shift at the hospital. Tyler was probably at the shop, or what was left of it, or at some bar with his friends. The grandkids were at school or after-school programs. I went up to my room and took out an old suitcase from the closet, the same one I used on my honeymoon almost 50 years ago. I started packing clothes. Not much, just the essentials. I was not leaving yet, but I needed to have everything ready for when the moment came. I also put the important documents in a folder, copies of everything I signed today, the bank statements, the property deeds, everything. At 7, I heard the front door open. Voices. Tyler had arrived. I went down to make dinner like always. I acted normal. I served tomato soup and grilled cheese sandwiches. I set the table. I called everyone. We ate in awkward silence. Tyler looked at me out of the corner of his eye, as if he knew something had changed, but could not identify what. "How did it go with the lawyer?" Jessica asked. "Fine. I just updated some papers." "What papers?" I smiled. "Boring things, honey. Nothing important." Lie. It was the most important thing I had done in years. That night, lying in my bed, I looked at my phone. Mr. Harrison had sent me a text message. "Documents delivered. The bank will receive the notification tomorrow first thing. Get ready." I replied. "Ready." I turned off the light, and for the first time in 5 years, I slept without that knot in my stomach. Because I knew that tomorrow, when the bank called Tyler, when he discovered that the useless old woman had taken away his safety net, everything would change. And I would be ready for whatever came. Because the real war does not start with shouting. It starts with silence, with decisions made in secret, with taking back the power they took from you while you slept. And I had just woken up. I woke up at 5:30 in the morning. The alarm did not even go off. My body knew that today was the day. I showered, dressed in beige linen trousers and a simple white blouse. Nothing special. I wanted to look exactly like always, the invisible grandmother who makes breakfast and causes no trouble. I went down to the kitchen. I put the coffee on to brew. I took out eggs, bacon, toast. I heated the skillet. The movements were automatic after decades of the same routine. But today was different. Every action had a different weight, as if I were preparing my last meal as submissive Margaret, the one who bowed her head and apologized for existing. At 7, Tyler came down first. He was wearing a t-shirt from his business that closed months ago, but he kept wearing as if he were still the owner of something. He sat at the head of the table without saying hello. He took his coffee and started scrolling on his phone. "Good morning," I said with a neutral voice. He grunted something unintelligible. I served his plate. Scrambled eggs, bacon, 3 pieces of toast. I placed it in front of him. He did not even look up. Jessica came down 15 minutes later. Her hair was wet, and her nurse's scrubs were wrinkled. She smelled of cheap lotion and exhaustion. "Oh, Mom, you shouldn't have bothered," she said. But she was already pouring herself coffee. "It is no bother." Lie. Everything was a bother lately, but it was not yet time to say it. The grandkids came down dragging their feet. Connor with headphones on, Lily yawning. They sat without saying hello. They took their plates. They ate in silence while looking at their phones. The table was full of people, and I felt completely alone. Tyler finished his breakfast and finally spoke. "Hey, mother-in-law, I need you to sign some papers for me today." I looked up. "What papers?" "From the bank. They are renewing the loan contract, and they need your updated signature as a co-signer." Something cold ran down my back. So he already knew, or he was about to find out. "What loan?" I asked, feigning confusion. "The one for the shop. The one you signed 2 years ago, you know." His tone was impatient. "Ah, that one." I took a sip of coffee. "And how is the shop going?" He tensed up. "Good. It's going good." "Really? Why haven't you told me anything in months?" Jessica intervened nervously. "Mom, the shop went through a rough patch, but Tyler is working on getting it back on track. That is why he needs to renew the loan." "I understand." I nodded slowly. "And how much do you still owe?" Tyler clenched his jaw. "That is between the bank and me, mother-in-law. I just need your signature." "Sure. But if I am going to sign, I need to know how much I am backing." $80,000. Same as before. Lie. Mr. Harrison had shown me the real balance. $120,000 with accumulated interest. Tyler had refinanced twice without telling me, and each time, the debt grew. "I see," I said calmly. "Let me think about it." "Think about it?" Tyler slammed his fork down on the plate hard. "There is nothing to think about. You already signed before. It is just a renewal." "Yes, but before they hadn't explained it to me well. Now I want to understand better before signing anything." His face turned red. "I can't believe this. After everything we have done for you, we give you a home, food, we take care of you, and now you come out with this." The air grew thick. The grandkids stopped looking at their phones. Jessica turned pale. "Tyler," Jessica started. "No, Jessica. Let me speak." He turned to me. "Look, I am going to speak clearly to you because I am tired of beating around the bush. This house needs a lot of things. Leaks in the roof. The plumbing is old. The yard is a disaster. We have plans to remodel, to make this a decent place again. Remodel, with my money, in my house." "And what do I think of those plans?" I asked softly. He laughed, a short, bitter laugh. "Mother-in-law, with all due respect, you are past these things. That is why we are here, to take care of what you can no longer handle." "I see." I placed my cup on the table carefully. So I am not part of the decisions. I am just the one who signs the papers. It's not like that, Mom, Jessica intervened. Of course you count. It is just that, you know how this works. Tyler understands construction, business. We just want to help you. Help me. That word again. All right, I said, standing up. I am going out for a while. I have some things to do. Going out? Where? Tyler frowned. To walk. To clear my head. And the papers? I will look at them when I return. I took my purse and left before he could keep questioning. I walked 4 blocks to a small coffee shop. I sat by the window and ordered a latte. I took out my phone. I had a message from Mr. Harrison. The bank just received the official notification. They are going to call Tyler between today and tomorrow to inform him that you are no longer backing the renewal. Brace yourself for the storm. I replied. It already started. He wanted me to sign a renewal of the loan this morning. He doesn't even know I am already off the contract. Typical. He wanted to secure it before the bank called him. Do not sign anything, Margaret. Nothing. I won't. I turned off the phone. I looked out the window. People were rushing by. Office workers on their way to work. Kids with backpacks heading to school. Everyone with their lives, their problems, their silent battles. How many women like me were out there? How many grandmothers living in their own homes as unwanted guests? How many signing papers they didn't understand because family knows best? I stayed in that coffee shop for 2 hours. Not because I was afraid to go back, but because I needed to strengthen my resolve, to remind myself that what I was doing was not cruelty. It was justice. It was dignity. It was recovering what they had taken from me slowly, with smiles and sweet words laced with poison. When I returned home near noon, Tyler was in the living room, pacing from one side to the other with the phone glued to his ear. His voice was tense. Yes, I understand. But there must be a mistake. No, I have my mother-in-law's guarantee. What do you mean it was revoked? When? He saw me enter. His eyes narrowed. Wait a moment, he told whoever was on the phone. He covered the mouthpiece and stared at me. Did you go to the bank? No. To the notary? I went to my lawyer. To update my documents. I told you yesterday. What documents? Mine, Tyler. My properties. My accounts. My guarantees. He turned white, then red, then a shade of purple that made me think he would have a heart attack right there. Did you remove the guarantee? His voice was a harsh whisper. Yes. Why? He shouted. The phone almost fell from his hand. Jessica came running out of the kitchen. What is happening? Why are you shouting? Tyler pointed at me with a shaking finger. Your mother just destroyed my life. That is what is happening. Jessica looked at me confused. Mom, what did you do? I took a deep breath. This was the moment, the point of no return. I withdrew my guarantee from Tyler's loan, and I revoked the power of attorney I gave you 5 years ago. Starting today, no one handles my money except me. The silence that followed was deafening. And in that silence, I saw the mask of the perfect family we had pretended to be crumble. Tyler hung up the phone. His hands were trembling. Jessica was paralyzed in the middle of the living room, looking at me as if I had just grown a second head. You can't do this, Tyler said. His voice sounded strangely calm. Too calm. You signed a contract, a commitment based on lies, I replied. You told me the shop was doing well, that you only needed a temporary co-signer, that you would pay me back in 6 months, and I was going to pay you. 2 years have passed, Tyler, and not only have you not paid me, but the debt grew from $80,000 to $120,000. Did you think I wasn't going to find out? Jessica gasped. 120,000? Tyler spun toward her. It is more complicated than that, Jessica. The interest, the refinancing, the operating expenses. You lied to me, I interrupted. To both of us. And you used my trust to keep burying yourself in debt while you lived in my house without paying rent, eating my food, spending the money from my properties. Your house? Tyler finally exploded. We have maintained this house. I pay the gas, the electricity, the water, with the money from the rents of my downtown buildings, I said firmly. $3,500 a month that gets deposited into an account Jessica supposedly managed for me. Do you know how much of that money I have seen in 2 years? Nothing. $0. Jessica slumped onto the sofa. Mom, we used that money for household expenses. For everyone. I thought it was okay. I thought it was what you wanted. You never asked me what I wanted. Because you never said anything, Tyler shouted. Always there, quiet, cooking, cleaning. How were we supposed to know you had a problem with something if you never spoke up? The day before yesterday at dinner, I spoke up. You called me a useless old woman, and the whole table laughed. That was my signal that speaking up served no purpose. Tyler clenched his fists. It was a joke, a damn joke. Well, I didn't laugh. A dense silence fell. Connor and Lily had appeared on the stairs, listening to everything. Lily had tears in her eyes. Connor looked scared. Mom, Jessica said with a broken voice. What are you going to do? Are you going to kick us out? The question floated in the air like a suspended knife. No, I replied finally. Not today, but things are going to change, radically. What does that mean? Tyler asked with suspicion. It means that we are going to finish this conversation with my lawyer present. Tomorrow at 10 in the morning, at his office. Both of you. I am not going to any office, Tyler said. I don't have to answer to you. Then on Monday, I start the legal eviction process and a lawsuit for the $120,000 you owe, plus interest. You decide. His face contracted into a grimace of rage and helplessness. You are threatening me. I am setting boundaries. Something I should have done 5 years ago. I took my purse and went up to my room. My legs were shaking, but I did not stop until I closed the door. I sat on the bed and took 3 deep breaths. 4. 5. I had done it. I had said everything. There was no turning back. My phone vibrated. Mr. Harrison. How is it going? Everything exploded, I told him. Meeting tomorrow at your office at 10. Perfect. I have all the documents ready. Bank statements, contracts, receipts. They won't be able to deny anything. Thank you, Robert. Margaret, are you okay? I thought about it. I was okay. I had just dynamited my relationship with my daughter and son-in-law. I had probably traumatized my grandchildren. My house felt like a battlefield, but also, for the first time in years, I felt alive. I am okay, I replied. Scared, but okay. That is normal. You are doing perfectly. I hung up and looked around my small room. The suitcase I had packed was still under the bed. Maybe I would need it soon. The rest of the day passed in an icy silence. No one came down to eat. I made lentil soup just for myself. I ate in the kitchen, looking out the window toward the backyard where Arthur had planted a lemon tree that no longer bore fruit. At 8 at night, I heard Tyler and Jessica arguing in their room. Muffled shouts, sobs, more shouts. At 9, there was a knock on my door. Yes, Jessica entered alone. Her eyes were swollen and red. She sat on the edge of my bed without asking permission. Why didn't you tell me you felt this way? She asked with a broken voice. I told you 1,000 times, with silences, with looks, by leaving the table. You didn't want to see. It is not fair, Mom. You can't blame me for everything. I don't blame you for everything. I blame you for choosing a man who humiliates me over your own mother. I blame you for managing my money as if it were yours. I blame you for never, not once in 5 years, asking me what I needed. I asked you. When, Jessica? When did you ask me if I was happy? If I felt comfortable living in the smallest room in my own house? If it hurt me to see you laugh when Tyler made fun of me? She broke down crying. I didn't know it was that serious. I thought you understood that it was just his way of being, that he didn't mean it seriously. The problem is not just Tyler, it is that you never defended me. Not once. I am afraid, she whispered. Afraid that he will leave, of being left alone with 2 kids, of not being able to pay the bills. And there it was, the truth. Jessica hadn't protected me because she needed me less than she needed him, because her fear of being alone was bigger than her love for me. Jessica, I said softly. I was afraid too. Afraid of being alone after your dad died. That is why I allowed everything. But do you know what I learned? That being alone with dignity is better than being accompanied with humiliation. What is going to happen tomorrow? You are going to hear the conditions, and you are going to decide if you can live with them or if you prefer to look for another place. We don't have money for another place. Then you are going to have to learn to respect me and mine. She stood up slowly. At the door she turned around. I am sorry. I am sorry for not being the daughter you needed. You can still be her, but you have to choose it. Every day, she left, closing the door softly. I stayed awake until past midnight. I mentally reviewed every document Mr. Harrison had prepared for me, the options, the scenarios. Tomorrow I would present my proposal. 6 months to find another place while paying me a symbolic rent of $500 a month. Partial forgiveness of the debt. I would only salvage part of what I guaranteed. The rest I would write off as a loss to close the circle, but with conditions. Absolute respect, mandatory family therapy, and never, ever touch my money again without my explicit, written authorization. If they rejected the proposal, I would evict them in 30 days and sue for the full debt. They were tough options, but fair, because I had learned something fundamental. Forgiveness without consequences is not forgiveness. It is permission for them to hurt you again, and I was no longer willing to give that permission. The morning arrived gray and heavy, as if the sky knew something was going to break definitely. I got up at 6. I dressed with care. A simple burgundy dress, my pearl necklace that Arthur gave me on our 20th anniversary, comfortable closed-toe shoes. I wanted to look like what I was, a 70-year-old woman who knew exactly what she was worth. I went down to make coffee, just for me. No one else had come down yet. At 8, Tyler appeared. He did not look at me. He poured coffee in silence. He took a bagel from the bread box and sat in front of the TV. Jessica came down 20 minutes later. Her face was puffy from so much crying. The grandkids did not come down. I guess they had been told to stay in their rooms. We leave at 9:30, I announced. The appointment is at 10. The office is 20 minutes from here. No one replied. At 9 sharp, Tyler finally spoke. I am not going. Then I start the legal process on Monday. I told you. This is ridiculous, talking to a lawyer as if we were criminals. You are not criminals, but you are debtors, and I am the creditor. That is how things work. He stood up abruptly. You know what, mother-in-law? For 5 years we have put up with you. Your silent complaints, your long faces, your way of playing the victim. You could have said something at any moment. I said it, by leaving the table when you humiliated me, but no one noticed. Or worse, no one cared. It was a joke. Jokes are made between equals, Tyler. You treat me as if I were your servant, and everyone allows it. Jessica intervened with a trembling voice. Mom, please. Let's talk peacefully. I am going to the appointment. Then I am going just to accompany you, Tyler grunted. But let it be clear, I am not signing anything that doesn't suit me. No one is forcing you to sign anything, I replied, just to listen. We left the house at 9:30. We took Tyler's car, that late-model SUV he bought with my money without telling me. The drive was silent, except for the radio playing at low volume. Jessica sat in the back seat, staring out the window. I sat in the front, with my purse on my lap, feeling the weight of the documents inside. We arrived at the office building 5 minutes before 10. We went up in the elevator without speaking. Tyler clenched and unclenched his fists. Jessica bit her nails. The receptionist showed us in immediately. Mr. Harrison was waiting for us in the conference room, not his office. He wanted this to be formal, official. Good morning, he greeted with a professional tone. Please, sit down. We arranged ourselves around a long mahogany table, Mr. Harrison in front of us, with perfectly organized folders, me by his side, Jessica and Tyler on the other side, like defendants in a trial, because in a way, they were. Mr. Harrison opened the first folder. Let's start by establishing the facts. Mrs. Margaret Sullivan, widow, legal owner of a house located in the suburbs, 2 commercial units downtown, an investment account at Chase Bank with $400,000, and other minor assets, correct? Correct, I replied. In July of 2023, you signed as a guarantor for a business loan of $80,000 in the name of Mr. Tyler Davis, present here, correct? Correct. The loan was to open an auto repair shop which, as you were informed, was going to generate sufficient profits to pay off the loan in 18 months. Is that so? Yes. Mr. Harrison took out a document and slid it across the table toward Tyler. Mr. Davis, this is the current statement of that loan. Can you confirm the balance? Tyler barely looked at it. His jaw was tense. $120,000. And how much principal have you paid? Silence. Mr. Davis, I asked you a question. $12,000, he muttered. Jessica turned to look at him, incredulous. Only $12,000 in 2 years? The business didn't work out as expected. The business closed a year ago, Mr. Harrison interrupted. And you have been paying only the minimum interest with money from Mrs. Margaret's rents, without her explicit knowledge. She knew. Jessica managed the accounts. Jessica turned pale. I thought, Mom agreed. You told me you had spoken with her. Of course I spoke with her. I told her I needed the money to maintain the house. You lied, I said with a firm voice. You never told me you were using the rents to pay your debt. You told me it was for the utilities, for food, for the kids. It was the same thing. Everything was for the family. No, Tyler. It was to save your failed business, to maintain your lifestyle, to buy that car. I pointed out the window toward the parking lot. Mr. Harrison took out another document. The car. A 2023 Ford Explorer, value of $40,000, bought in cash with a withdrawal from Mrs. Margaret's rent account in March of last year. Did she authorize that purchase? I had power of attorney, Tyler started. The power was Jessica's, not yours. And the power was for administration, not for personal purchases. Legally, that purchase is questionable. Tyler stood up abruptly. This is a circus. Did you bring me here to humiliate me? We brought you here to show you the truth, I said, standing up too. For 5 years you have lived off my money while treating me like trash, and my daughter let you do it because she was more afraid of losing you than of losing me. Mom, that is not fair. Jessica also stood up, tears running down her cheeks. Not fair? Do you know what is not fair, Jessica? That on my 68th birthday no one remembered because Tyler organized a gathering with his friends. That on Christmas you gave me an ugly sweater you bought on sale while I gave everyone expensive electronics. That every time Tyler insulted me, you lowered your eyes and stayed quiet. I didn't know what to do. You could have defended me. Just once. That is the only thing I needed. Mr. Harrison cleared his throat. Ladies, sir, let's sit down. We still have a lot to review. We sat down. Tyler's face was red with rage. Jessica sobbed silently. Mr. Harrison continued with an implacable tone. Besides the loan and the car, we found other questionable expenses. A trip to the Caribbean last year for $5,000. Music lessons for the kids for $200 a month. Subscriptions to streaming services, restaurants, designer clothes, all charged to the account that was supposedly to maintain the house. Those things were also for the house. For the family, Tyler insisted. While Mrs. Margaret bought her clothes at the discount store and used cheap soap because she believed she didn't have money, Mr. Harrison added. The silence that followed was crushing. Tyler finally crumbled. He covered his face with his hands. Okay, yes, I went too far, I know. But I didn't know how to tell her. The business failed, and I didn't want to look like a loser in front of my family. So you used me as your personal piggy bank, I said. I was going to pay you back, I swear. With what money, Tyler? You don't have a job, the shop closed. Where was the money going to come from? He didn't reply, because there was no answer. Jessica spoke with a broken voice. Mom, what do you want us to do? Mr. Harrison opened the last folder, the one containing my proposal. Mrs. Margaret has prepared 2 options. The first, you have 6 months to find another place to live. During those 6 months, you will pay a rent of $500 a month. The loan debt is restructured. Of the $80,000 original dollars, $30,000 are forgiven. The remaining $50,000 must be paid in installments of $1,000 a month for 4 years. If you miss a single payment, the full debt becomes due immediately with legal interest. And the second option? Asked Jessica. Eviction in 30 days and a lawsuit for the full $120,000. That would include the seizure of the car and any other assets you possess. Tyler looked up. You are destroying me. No, I replied with a firm voice. I am setting boundaries, something I should have done a long time ago. And, Tyler, if you accept the first option, there are additional conditions. What are they? Absolute respect, 0 insults, zero mockery, zero derogatory comments. Monthly family therapy. All 4 of us, including the kids. And never, ever, do you touch my money again without my authorization in writing and notarized. That is impossible, Tyler started. Then take the second option. I interrupted him. I already made my decision. Now it is your turn to make yours. Jessica looked at him. Tyler looked at her. And in that exchange of looks, I saw everything. The fear, the shame, the helpless rage. We need time to think about it, Jessica said finally. You have until Monday at 5 in the afternoon, replied Mr. Harrison. After that, Mrs. Margaret will proceed with the option she considers appropriate. We stood up. Tyler left first without saying goodbye. Jessica stopped at the door. Mom, I still love you, despite everything. I love you too, honey. That is why I am doing this, because love without boundaries is not love, it is self-destruction. She left. Mr. Harrison and I were left alone in the conference room. You did very well, he said. It doesn't feel good. It never feels good to set boundaries, but it is necessary. I nodded. He was right. I left the building and took a taxi back. I didn't want to go with them. I needed space to breathe. During the ride, I looked out the window. The city kept moving, oblivious to my little family drama. And I realized something. The world didn't end because I had said no more. In fact, the world kept turning. And I kept breathing. And for the first time in years, I was breathing without that crushing weight in my chest. I arrived home before them. The house was empty. The grandkids must have been at school. I went up to my room and sat on the bed, waiting. I knew the explosion was coming. It was just a matter of time. Half an hour later, I heard the car park. The front door opening with force, heavy steps coming up the stairs, pounding on my door, hard, desperate. Open up! It was Tyler. I opened it. He looked unhinged. His eyes were bloodshot and his hair messy, as if he had been pulling at it the whole way. We need to talk. We already talked. At the office. No. Now we are going to talk for real. Without lawyers, without papers, just you and me. Jessica appeared behind him. Tyler, please, let me talk to her. I stepped aside and let them pass. The 3 of us in my small room. Tyler walked in circles like a caged animal. Jessica sat on the only chair. I remained standing by the window. Do you know what bothers me the most? Tyler started. It is not the money. It is not the papers. It is that for 5 years you acted as if everything was fine, as if you didn't care about anything. And now you come out with this. I acted like that because I was afraid, I replied. Afraid that if I said something, you would leave me alone. Afraid of being the bitter mother-in-law. Afraid of losing my family. Well, you are going to lose it. Is that what you want? I want respect. If to have respect I have to be alone, then, yes, I prefer that. Tyler laughed. A bitter, broken laugh. Respect, sure. But you never respected my effort, my work, my attempt to get ahead. Your effort? What effort, Tyler? You opened a shop with my money. You let it go under, and then kept spending my money as if nothing had happened. Where is the effort in that? The business failed. Things happen. I am not the first nor the last to go bankrupt. You are right. But you are the first to keep living like a rich man when you don't have a dime, with your mother-in-law's money, in your mother-in-law's house, while insulting your mother-in-law. Enough with the insult. It was a damn joke. It was not a joke, I shouted. And it was the first time in 5 years I shouted in that house. It was the summary of 5 years of slights, of small comments, of making me feel like I was in the way, of treating me as if I were your maid, not the owner of the house where you live for free. Jessica sobbed. Mom, I am sorry. I am so sorry. I turned to her. Do you know when I knew I had lost my daughter? It wasn't when you got married. It wasn't when you moved out. It was the day of my 68th birthday. That day when Tyler organized his barbecue with his friends. I went down to the kitchen in the morning and you were there, making coffee. I told you, today I turned 68. And you said, oh, yes, Mom, happy birthday. And you kept making coffee without looking at me. Not a hug, not a cake, nothing. That day I understood that I was no longer your priority. I was just another piece of furniture in the house. I don't remember it like that, Jessica said, because for you it wasn't important. But for me, it was the day I started to disappear. Tyler intervened, this time with a calmer tone, but equally hard. And what did you expect? That we treat you like a queen? We all live here. We are family. Families support each other. Families respect each other. I corrected him. And support is mutual. It is not just one person giving and everyone else taking. You gave me company, so I wouldn't be alone after your husband died. You didn't give me company. You took my home, my privacy, my dignity. That is an exaggeration. I opened the drawer of my nightstand. I took out an old notebook. I had been filling it out for the last 6 months without realizing it. Notes, dates, comments that had hurt me. I opened it to a random page and read aloud. March 15th. Tyler told me not to cook anymore because my food was tasteless. Jessica laughed and said, "It is true, Mom. You are getting forgetful with the salt." I turned another page. May 3rd. Lily needed help with math homework. I studied accounting. I offered to help her. Tyler said, "Better leave the mother-in-law alone. She doesn't even remember those things anymore. I'll help you." Lily didn't even look at me. Another page. July 22nd. Connor turned 12. I made a cake, his favorite since he was a child. We cut it after dinner. Connor said, "Grandma, this tastes weird." Tyler tasted it and said, "Yeah, better order one from the bakery next time." I threw half a cake in the trash that night. Jessica was crying silently. Tyler had turned pale. "I have 32 more pages," I said, closing the notebook. 32 pages of small slights that turned into a giant heartbreak. And the day of the dinner with the comment about the useless old woman was just the straw that broke the camel's back. "I didn't know you felt that way," Jessica murmured, "because you never asked. You were so busy keeping Tyler happy that you forgot that I also needed someone to take care of me." Tyler sat on the edge of my bed, defeated. "So now what? Do you hate us? Do you want us to disappear from your life?" "I don't hate you, but I can't go on like this either. I need you to understand something fundamental. The money I spent on you was not extra money. It was the fruit of 40 years of work, of sacrifices, of smart decisions. And you squandered it as if it were water while making me feel like I was the burden. We are going to pay you back," Tyler said. "Every dollar, I swear." "With what money?" "I am going to get a job, a real job. No more inventions of my own businesses. I am going to work for someone else if necessary." "Tyler is right," Jessica added. "I can take extra shifts at the hospital. We can pay." I looked at both of them. There was sincerity in their eyes, but there was also desperation, and I couldn't distinguish one from the other. "You have until Monday," I repeated. "Choose which option you are going to take. But know this, if you choose to stay, the rules change. Radically, this is still my house. You are my guests. And I am going to start living like the owner I am, not like the employee I became." "What does that mean?" Jessica asked. "It means I am going to take the master bedroom again, the one that was mine and your father's. You can stay in the bedroom where you are now. It is bigger than this one where you put me. But, no buts. Either you take it or you leave. Also, I am going to hire someone to clean the house twice a week. I am not going to do it alone anymore. And I am going to pay for it from my rents, which will be deposited back into my personal account, not the family account." "That is fair," Jessica admitted quietly. "And one more thing, the grandkids. They need to know the truth. Not all the details, but enough to understand that what happened is not normal, that families shouldn't function like this." "They are going to hate us," Tyler said. "They are going to learn." "Which is different." A long silence fell. Outside I heard the school bus stop. Kids' voices, the front door opening. Connor and Lily had arrived. "Talk to each other," I said. "Think, decide. But on Monday at 5 I want an answer. And whatever it is, I am going to respect it. Because I do know how to respect the decisions of others, even if they hurt me." They left my room in silence. I heard them go down the stairs, muffled voices talking to the grandkids, more sobs from Jessica. I sat on my bed and looked at the notebook that was still in my hands. 32 pages of accumulated pain. I wondered how many women in the world had similar notebooks, how many grandmothers, mothers, aunts, writing in silence every wound because they didn't have the courage to say them out loud. I opened the window. The fresh air entered my room. I took a deep breath, and I took the notebook, that notebook full of sadness, and I tore it up, page by page, slowly, like a ritual, because I didn't need it anymore. I had already said everything I had to say, and whatever they said on Monday, I had already won. I had recovered my voice. The weekend was strange, like living with ghosts in a house haunted by recently revealed secrets. On Saturday morning, Connor and Lily avoided me. They went into the kitchen, grabbed cereal, and ran to their rooms. I guess Jessica and Tyler had told them something, but not everything. The kids looked at me as if I were a stranger, or worse, as if I were the villain of a story they didn't understand. Jessica spent all Saturday locked in her room. I could hear her crying through the walls. Tyler left early and didn't return until night. He smelled of beer and cigarettes when he came in. I spent the day reorganizing my documents, separating what was mine from what had been ours. It was more than I thought, and less than it should have been. On Sunday afternoon, Jessica knocked on my door. "Mom, can we talk? Alone?" "Sure." We entered my room, and she closed the door. She sat on the bed with her legs crossed, like when she was a child and came to tell me her problems from school. But she was no longer a child. She was a 43-year-old woman with worry lines on her forehead and gray hairs she covered with cheap dye. "I don't know where to start," she said. "Start where it hurts the most." She took a deep breath. I think you are right about everything. And that is what hurts me the most. That for 5 years, without realizing it, I stopped seeing you as my mom and started seeing you as a resource, as someone who was there to make our lives easier." "When did it start?" I asked. "I don't know. It was gradual. When Dad died, I was devastated. Tyler was my support. He held me up when I felt I was going to fall. And somehow, I started prioritizing his happiness over everything else. Because I was afraid that if he wasn't happy, he would leave me. And I couldn't bear another loss. And me? Did I not count as a loss? You were there. You were always there. I assumed you would always be there, that you had nowhere to go, that you wouldn't leave, because I had no options, right? The old widow without her husband, depending on her children. I never thought of it like that. But that is how you treated me." Jessica covered her face with her hands. "When did I become this person? My mom taught me to be strong, to defend myself, not to let anyone trample on me. And I trampled on you. It wasn't just your fault. I gave you permission too. Every time I stayed quiet, every time I endured a comment, every time I said it is okay when it wasn't okay. Why did you do it? For the same reason as you. Fear of being alone. Your dad was my partner for 42 years. When he died, I was left empty, and you all filled that void. Even if it was with crumbs, it was better than nothing. Or so I thought. And now? Now I know that crumbs poison you, that it is better to be hungry with dignity than to be full of humiliation." Jessica wiped her tears. "I talked to Tyler. Last night. After the kids fell asleep, I told him everything. How I felt. How I had failed as a daughter. How I had allowed everything. And what did he say? He got angry first. He said I was being dramatic, that you were manipulating me. But later he broke down. He admitted he had been a jerk, that he took advantage of the situation, that he thought that because we had your power of attorney, we could do what we wanted with your things. And the kids? We spoke to them this morning, before you woke up. We explained that we had been living in your house without paying you, that we had spent your money without permission, that we had been unfair to you. How did they react? Connor asked if we were going to be homeless. Lily asked if you hated us. We told them the truth, that it depends on us, on whether we can learn to respect you. I stayed silent processing. Jessica continued. Connor remembered something. He said, "It is like when I made fun of Charlie at school and the teacher told me that bullies never win." And Lily said, "Then Dad was Grandma's bully." I got a lump in my throat. They are good kids. They are your grandchildren. They have your intelligence and your way of seeing things clearly. Jessica, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be brutally honest. Anything. If Tyler told you it is him or me, that you have to choose between your husband and your mother, who would you choose? The silence that followed was eternal. Jessica looked at the floor, then at the window, then at her hands. Finally, she looked me in the eyes. Before this week, I would have told you him, without hesitation, because he was my present, because he slept next to me every night, because I depended on him economically even though in reality he depended on you. And now I don't know. And I think that doubt is an answer in itself, because if I really loved Tyler the way I should, there wouldn't be a doubt. But there is, and that terrifies me. Why does it terrify you? Because it means that these 5 years were a lie, that I stayed with him out of fear, not out of love, that I sacrificed my relationship with you to maintain a marriage that maybe was never as solid as I thought. Jessica, does he treat you well? When you are alone, when no one sees you, does he respect you? She took too long to answer, and that pause told me everything. He has a strong temper, she said finally. Sometimes he says hurtful things, but later he apologizes. He says he is stressed about money, work, everything. Has he raised a hand to you? No, never. But his words sometimes hurt more than a hit, like the words he said to me at dinner. Yes. I moved closer and took her hands. They were cold, trembling. Honey, I need you to understand something. I am not forcing you to choose, neither him nor me. I am forcing you to choose you, to decide what kind of life you want, what kind of marriage, what kind of person you want to be. I am scared. I know. I was scared too. But do you know what I discovered? That the fear of being alone is worse when you are accompanied by people who make you feel alone. True loneliness isn't being physically alone. It is being surrounded by people who don't see you, like you were with us. Exactly. Do you forgive me, Mom? The question floated in the air. Did I forgive her? Could I forgive 5 years of emotional abandonment, of silent complicity, of prioritizing a man over her own mother? I forgive you, I said finally. But forgiveness doesn't mean things go back to how they were before. It means I am willing to build something new, something better, if you are too. I am, I swear. Then prove it. Tomorrow at 5, with your answer. She nodded, hugged me, and for the first time in 5 years, that hug felt real. Not obligated, not guilty, real. When she left my room, I sat on the bed looking at the wall. I thought about Arthur, about how he would have handled all this, probably with more harshness than me. Arthur did not tolerate disrespect. He used to say that family was the most important thing, but that respect was the glue that kept it together. Am I doing it right, love? I whispered to the air. There was no answer, but in my heart, I felt yes. That after 5 years of losing myself, I was finally finding the way back. That night I ate dinner alone in the kitchen. A simple sandwich with a glass of water. I didn't make anything for anyone else. And when Connor came down looking for food, I looked at him and said, "There is ham and bread in the fridge. You can make yourself something. Are you not going to cook, Grandma?" "No, not today." "Are you mad at us?" I approached him and stroked his hair. "I am not mad. I am tired. But I am working on stopping being tired. Do you understand?" "I think so. Dad said we were unfair to you. Your dad is right." "I am sorry, Grandma. I am sorry too, my love. Sorry that you had to see all this. Are we going to leave your house?" "I don't know yet. That is decided by your parents tomorrow. I don't want to leave. I like living here, even though I understand if you want us to leave. My teacher says we all deserve respect, even grandparents." I smiled sadly. "Especially grandparents." I hugged him, and in that hug, I remembered why I was fighting. Not just for me, also for them. To teach them that love without respect is not love, that family is not an excuse for abuse, that older people are not disposable. I went up to my room and got ready to sleep. Tomorrow would be Monday. Tomorrow at 5 in the afternoon, I would know if my family would choose to respect me or if they would choose to leave. And although it hurt not knowing the answer, for the first time in years I slept with a clear conscience, because I had finally spoken my truth, and that, regardless of what happened tomorrow, was already a victory. Monday dawned with a brutal clarity, as if the universe knew that today everything would be defined. I got up early. I fixed myself up with care, black dress slacks, impeccable white blouse, my pearl necklace. I wanted to look exactly like what I was. A woman who knew her worth. I ate breakfast alone. Black coffee and toast. Simple. Sufficient. At 9, I left the house. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I no longer had to give explanations. I took a taxi to the bank. I needed to confirm that all the changes were in order. The account executive, a young woman named Sarah, received me with a professional smile. "Mrs. Sullivan, everything is ready. The rents from your units are now deposited directly into your personal account. Mr. Davis no longer has access. And does he know? He received an official notification last Friday." Perfect. Sarah showed me the statements. In 2 months, when the next rent was deposited, I would have full control over my income again. $3,500 a month that I could use however I wanted. For me, for my needs, for my future. "Anything else I can do for you?" Sarah asked. "Yes, I want to open an additional savings account, separate, with a specific goal." "What would that goal be?" "An apartment, small, for one person, just in case." Sarah nodded sympathetically. She didn't ask questions. Surely she had seen similar cases. Older women recovering their independence, preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. I left the bank feeling powerful. I had options. I was no longer trapped. I walked through the city without a fixed destination. I entered a bookstore and bought 3 novels I had wanted to read for years but never had time. I entered an elegant cafe and ordered a cappuccino with a piece of carrot cake. I sat by the window and read 30 pages of one of the novels. No one interrupted me. No one needed me. And it was glorious. At 3 in the afternoon, I returned home. I found Jessica in the living room. She was sitting on the sofa with her hands clasped, nervous. Tyler was not there. "Where is your husband?" I asked. "He went out to look for work." "Seriously, Mom. He went to 3 places today. Auto shops. He is willing to work as an employee if necessary." "That is good. Mom, I need to tell you something before 5 arrives." I sat in front of her. "I am listening." "Last night, after everyone fell asleep, I was awake thinking about everything, about these 5 years, about who I was before I got married and who I became after. And what did you discover? That I lost something important. My dad always told me, 'Jessica, never let anyone dim your light.' And I let Tyler dim it, little by little, without realizing it." "Did he ask you to dim it?" "Not directly. But every time I had a different opinion, he got upset. Every time I wanted to do something without him, he got jealous. And I, instead of defending myself, kept adapting. I kept making myself small so he would feel big. And with me, with you, it was worse, because you were stronger than me, more secure. And I think he felt threatened by that, by your independence, by your intelligence. And instead of defending myself and you, I let him make you small too." Her voice broke. I waited in silence while she composed herself. "This week, when I saw all the documents, when I heard everything you had achieved, everything you built with Dad, I realized something." "You are not the useless old woman," Tyler said. "You are the smartest woman I know. And I was so stupid I didn't see it." "You weren't stupid. You were human. Love blinds us sometimes." "It wasn't love, Mom. It was fear disguised as love." The words hung between us. Truths so painful they cut when spoken. "What are you going to do?" I asked. "I don't know yet. But I know I can't go on like this. Tyler and I need therapy. Couples therapy, individual, whatever. Because if we are going to stay together, it has to be for real. Not out of fear, not out of convenience, but because we choose to work on this. And if it doesn't work, then I will learn to be alone. Like you, I am not alone, Jessica. I am with myself, which is different." She smiled sadly. "You are right." At 4:30, Tyler arrived. He was wearing jeans and a work shirt. He looked tired, defeated. But there was also something different in his eyes, something resembling humility. "Mother-in-law," he said upon seeing me, "can we talk before 5? "Go ahead." He sat next to Jessica. He took deep breaths several times before speaking. "I am not going to try to justify myself. What I did was wrong, very wrong. I took your money without asking. I treated you with contempt. And worst of all, I convinced your daughter that it was okay. Why? I asked directly. Because I felt less. Always. You and Arthur had achieved so much, and I was just a mechanic who wanted to be a businessman. And when my business failed, instead of admitting it, I kept pretending. I kept spending. I kept living as if everything was fine. And the easiest way to feel big was to make you feel small. And now? Now I understand that doesn't make me big. It makes me a coward and an abuser. The word hung suspended in the air. Abuser. He had said it, not me. Today I went to 3 shops, he continued. In 2, they told me they would contact me. In the 3rd, they offered for me to start tomorrow. As a basic mechanic, the salary is low, $3,000 a month. But it is something. It is a start. Are you going to take it? Yes. And Jessica is going to take extra shifts at the hospital. Between the 2 of us, we can pull together enough. It isn't much, but it is honest. It is real. And my proposal? Jessica and Tyler looked at each other. Then she spoke. We want to take the first option. The 6 months. The rent of $500. The payment of the $50,000 in installments. And the conditions. All of them. The respect, the therapy, everything. Are you sure, Tyler? It is 4 years of payments. $1,000 monthly. I am sure. And if it takes me longer, I will keep paying you until it is settled. It is the least I can do. And the master bedroom? It is yours, said Jessica firmly. We are going to clear it out this weekend. And we are going to help you move in. And the kids? We already talked to them, Tyler said. We explained everything. Connor asked if he could help clean the yard to pay Grandma back. Lily said she wants to cook with me on Sundays, to make your favorite food. I got a lump in my throat. They don't have to do that. Yes, we have to do it, Jessica said. Because for 5 years, we made you invisible. And now we need you to become visible again. For us, for them, for yourself. I looked at the clock. 10 minutes to 5. All right, I said finally. I accept. But I want it to be clear. This is your last chance. If you disrespect me again, if you miss a payment again, if you make me feel like you made me feel these 5 years again, there will be no second option. Understood? Understood, they said in unison. And one more thing. I want the grandkids to spend time with me. Real time. Not just being in the same house, but talking, cooking together, telling me about their lives, because that is what hurt me the most. Losing the connection with them. I promise, Jessica said with tears in her eyes. I took out my phone and dialed Mr. Harrison. We have a decision. They took the first option. Prepare the documents for them to sign tomorrow. Perfect. I expect you at 10 in the morning. I hung up. The 3 of us sat in silence. It wasn't an uncomfortable silence. It was a silence of relief, of exhaustion, of fragile hope. Mom, Jessica said softly. Yes? Do you think someday we can be a family again? For real? We are already family, Jessica. We always were. The problem is that for 5 years we were a broken family. Now we have the opportunity to be a healthy family. But that requires work. Every day. From everyone. We will do it, she promised. That night we ate dinner together, the 5 of us. We ordered Chinese food because no one had energy to cook. And for the first time in years, the conversation flowed. The grandkids told me about school. Tyler asked my opinion on something. Jessica poured me tea without my asking. They were small gestures. But after 5 years of invisibility, every small gesture felt monumental. Before going to sleep, Jessica stopped me on the stairs. Thank you for not giving up on us. I didn't give up on you. I gave up on being mistreated. It is different, I know. And that is why I admire you more than ever. I hugged her. And in that hug, I felt something I had lost. The certainty that my daughter loved me. Maybe she had forgotten how to show it, but the love was still there, buried under layers of fear and bad decisions. And now we were unearthing it. Together. The first 2 months were complicated. Tyler started his job at the shop. He arrived home with grease-stained hands and wounded pride. A man who was once an owner now took orders from a boss 20 years his junior. I saw it in his eyes every night, the frustration, the shame, but he paid. Every 2 weeks, without fail, he gave me $500, half of his paycheck. Jessica added another $500 from her extra shifts. and they deposited it into my account with a signed receipt. Moving into the master bedroom was cathartic. Entering the room I shared with Arthur for 4 decades made me cry. But it also made me feel like I was recovering pieces of myself I had lost. Family therapy started the 3rd week. A psychologist named Dr. Evans who held nothing back. The first session was brutal. "Tyler," she said bluntly, "are you aware that your behavior toward your mother-in-law qualifies as financial and emotional abuse?" Tyler tensed. "I never hit her." Abuse doesn't always leave visible bruises. Sometimes the scars are internal. Session after session, Dr. Evans kept unearthing uncomfortable truths. Tyler had grown up in a family where his father treated his maternal grandmother like a servant. He simply replicated the pattern without questioning it. "It is not an excuse," said the doctor, "but it is an explanation, and recognizing the origin of the behavior is the first step to changing it." Things improved slowly, very slowly. Tyler started saying thank you when I cooked, asking, "Do you need anything?" before going to the store. Small changes that before would have been invisible, but now shone like beacons in the dark. Jessica changed too. She started defending me. The first time Tyler made a sarcastic comment about my food. "A little salty, isn't it?" Jessica cut him off immediately. "If you don't like it, you cook." The silence that followed was spectacular. Tyler looked at her surprised. Then he lowered his eyes. "You are right. Sorry, mother-in-law. It is good." But not everything was linear progress. The 3rd month, Tyler had a relapse. He arrived from work especially frustrated. His boss had scolded him in front of other mechanics for a mistake. Tyler entered the house, slamming doors, cursing. I was in the kitchen making chicken noodle soup. He passed by me, saw the pot and muttered, "Soup again. Can't you make something different?" It was instinctive, automatic, the old Tyler emerging in a moment of weakness. But this time I didn't stay quiet. I turned off the stove. I turned toward him. "Excuse me?" He realized his mistake immediately. "Mother-in-law, I didn't mean." "Yes, you did. And do you know what, Tyler? I am going to remind you of something. You have 2 options. Either you appreciate what there is, or you make your own food. But what you are not going to do is disrespect me in my house again. Is that clear?" Jessica had entered just in time to hear everything. She stood next to me. "Mom is right. Either you apologize for real, or tonight you eat out." Tyler looked at both of us. And for the first time I saw something I had never seen in him. Genuine shame. "You are right. I am sorry. I truly am sorry. I had a crappy day, and I took it out on you. That is not okay." "No," I said firmly. "It is not okay. And if it happens again, I will remember that you warned me this wouldn't work." "It won't happen again." And it didn't. That was the last significant incident. But then came the blow no one expected. 4 months after the ultimatum, Tyler came home pale as a ghost. It was 3 in the afternoon. He never arrived at that time. "What happened?" asked Jessica, alarmed. "Did you get fired?" The silence was absolute. "Why?" I asked. "Staff cuts. I am the last one hired. I was the first one out." Jessica slumped onto the sofa. "My God. And now what do we do? We have to pay you $1,000 in 5 days." "I know," Tyler said with a broken voice. "I know." I watched them both crumble. Part of me, the hurt part, felt a dark satisfaction. "See, you can't comply. You can't keep your promises." But another part of me, the part that was still a mother and grandmother, felt something different. "Do you have savings?" I asked. $300, nothing more. "And you, Jessica?" $200. We were going to use them for Lily's tuition next month. I ran the numbers in my head. $500 between the 2 of them. Another $500 missing to complete the payment. I could demand the full payment. I could use this as an excuse to evict them, as I had warned. I could demand the entire debt with interest. Tyler looked at me with the eyes of a cornered animal. "Mother-in-law, I swear I am going to look for work. Today, tomorrow, I am going to knock on every door necessary. I just need a little time." "How much time?" "A month? 2 maximum, please." Jessica knelt in front of me. Literally knelt. "Mom, please. We have been trying, honestly. It is not for lack of will. It is circumstances. Circumstances are part of life. I said with a hard voice. And you should have foreseen this. You should have saved more. You should have had a plan B. You are right, admitted Jessica, crying. You are completely right, but I beg you, don't kick us out. Not now. The kids are in the middle of the school year. Tyler is going to get a job. I am going to take more shifts. We are going to pay you everything down, to the last penny. I looked at them both, pleading, desperate, humiliated. And I realized something. This was exactly what they needed to experience. Not the public humiliation Tyler put me through, but the private humiliation of recognizing that their actions have consequences, that the world doesn't revolve around them, that when you depend on someone, you must treat them with respect. All right, I said finally. I am going to give you 2 months. Really? Tyler couldn't believe it, but with conditions. This month you pay what you can, the $500 you have. Next month you pay $1,500 to compensate, and if in 2 months Tyler doesn't have a job, we sell the car, the SUV you bought with my money. But I need the car to look for work. Then get a job before 2 months pass. Tyler swallowed hard. Deal. And one more thing. Starting today, every dollar you spend, you write down in a notebook. Every dollar you earn, you write down. And at the end of every week, you show it to me. I want total transparency. Because my trust was broken, and it has to be earned again. Little by little, we will do it, promised Jessica. The next 2 months were hell for them. Tyler knocked on doors at 50 places. He was rejected at 48. In the 2 that accepted him, the wages were miserable. He chose the one that paid more, $2,500 a month at an auto parts store. Jessica worked 14-hour shifts. She arrived home crawling, with barely enough energy to eat dinner. The grandkids became more independent out of necessity. Connor learned to heat up food. Lily learned to wash her own clothes, and I watched them. Not with cruelty, but with the satisfaction of one who knows that hard lessons are the ones best remembered. In the next therapy session, Dr. Evans asked me, "Margaret, how do you feel seeing your family struggle like this?" "Conflicted," I admitted. "Part of me feels pity, but another part feels this is necessary, that they needed to hit rock bottom to learn. And if they don't make it, then they will learn another lesson, that actions have permanent consequences." Tyler, who was in the session, spoke. "Mother-in-law, do you hate me?" "I don't hate you, Tyler. I have never hated you. But I am not going to save you from the consequences of your own decisions either, because that wouldn't help you. It would make you weaker." "You are right," he said with a broken voice. "And do you know what is the worst part? That now I understand how you felt these 5 years, working to exhaustion and feeling it isn't enough, giving everything and having no one value it. It is horrible." "Yes," I said softly. "It is horrible. That is why I never want to feel it again." "You won't feel it again, I swear on my children." And for the first time I believed him. Because they weren't just words. They were words backed by actions, by effort, by sacrifice. At the end of the 2nd month, Tyler handed me $1,500. He had gathered it with his salary, with extra jobs on weekends fixing neighbors' cars, with every cent he could save. "Here it is," he said, putting the envelope in my hand. "Complete. Well done. Can I keep the car?" "For now, yes. But it remains a reminder of what you did wrong. Every time you see it, remember, I will." And while I put that envelope with the money away, I realized something. I wasn't recovering just my money. I was recovering my dignity. And they were learning theirs. Because dignity is not given away. It is earned. With respect, with effort, with humility, and, finally, after 5 years, we were all learning that lesson.